When my parents sold the family cabin, they didn't even tell me. I found out through a Facebook post, my sister smiling in front of it with the caption, "A wedding gift, thanks mom and dad." When I asked what happened to my share, my mom laughed and said, "You really think you earned anything?" Then rolled her eyes. "She's starting a real life, you're just wasting space." My dad added, "What would you even do with it? Turn it into one of your little projects," and screwed up like everything else. They talked about me like I was a joke. I just said, "Got it, thanks for clearing that up." 2 months later, I took one step that blew it all wide open. Now they're leaving voicemails every day. "Please talk to us. We didn't mean it like that, okay?" Hey, I usually lurk, but this whole thing has just been chewing at me, and I need to get it out somewhere. If you've ever wondered how far parents will go to pick favorites, buckle up. I'll try to keep this not too rambling, but honestly, I'm still kind of seeing red, so if this gets messy, sorry in advance. So here's the thing, my family has this old place, a cabin, nothing fancy, but it's been the family since before I was born, out by this lake that's like a 45 minutes drive from the city. I grew up there every summer, my sister Danielle and me, fishing, playing cards, endless Monopoly games, where someone always quit mid-board. For context, Danielle's a couple years younger, always the golden child, mostly because she played by the rules I never did. Parents have always made it weirdly clear they respect people who follow the path. I never really fit that mold. I don't think I'm some rebel or anything, but I like to do my own thing anyway. Fast forward to now, I moved out years ago. I don't go back home much. Family group chat died like 2 years ago, except for the occasional forwarded meme from my dad. I guess I always felt a bit like the odd one out, but whatever, right? I've got my own life. Still, the cabin always felt like Switzerland, neutral territory, you know. It's not like it's a mansion or anything, but it's got all this history. My granddad built the deck himself. My mom's obsessed with her dumb collection of weird mugs that nobody is allowed to use. It always felt like the one thing that really belonged to both of us. Even as the family got more distant, the weirdness started about 2 months ago. Random Saturday, I'm on my phone, just Doom's group. Someone I barely talk to anymore tags me in this Facebook thing. I almost ignore it, but I click, and it's a photo of Danielle standing in front of the cabin, all done up like she's out some influence or photo shoot. The caption is the bit that actual Lee made me stop our wedding. Get thanks mom and dad. Took me a 4 minute to process that, like wedding gift. What wedding? Daniel's been engaged for a while, but nobody said anything about the cabin. I text her, get left on read. I figure, okay, maybe it's just a weird caption. But then I see all these comments from her friends congratulating her on getting the cabin, talk about how lucky she has to start her new life in such a special place. My stomach just drops. I scroll, and there's my mom timing and seeing how happy they are to give Danielle this fresh start. So that's how I found out the cabin's gone. Not from my parents, not from Danielle, not even in a family chat, just a Facebook post public for everyone but me. Obviously, I call my mom, she doesn't pick up. I try my dad, he sends me straight to voicemail. I text again, nothing at this point. I'm not even angry, just confused, like maybe there's some explanation. Maybe they're just letting her use it for the wedding or something. Nope. 3 days later, my mom finally calls. It's not even a proper conversation. She's weirdly chipper, like nothing's happened. I ask her, so what's going on with the cabin? Did you sell it to Danielle? She laughs, actually laughs, and goes, so you really think you'd get anything from? Then she sighs like I'm a kid who doesn't get how the world works and says, Daniel's starting a real life and I'm just wasting space. What would I even do with it? Turn it into one of my little projects, and screwed up like everything else. My dad chimes in, he's on speaker, says if it had been up to him, they would have sold it years ago. At least now it's going to someone who'll appreciate it. I try to ask, like, what about my share? Didn't granddad say it was supposed to be split? Mom just rolls her eyes audible over the phone and says, I haven't earned anything. Danielle deserves it because he listens. She's not off chase things, stupid ideas. My dad starts into this whole thing about how I never finish anything, how I just let it rot. I try to say that's not true. I did all that work on the deck last year. But he talks over me, says that doesn't count as just busy work at this point. I say, fine, thanks for clearing that up. She says, don't be dramatic, and hangs up. I just sat there for a minute, not sure what I expected, but that wasn't it. I've always known they saw me as the last cause. And but hearing it that bluntly, like I'm just in the way, kind of hit different, not in a self-pity way, just IDK. It's like I wasn't even in the conversation. They talked about me in the third person, like I wasn't there, like I was this annoying ex-friend they had to deal with because I showed Up at Thanksgiving, sometimes no mention of my name in the Facebook post, either just erased. So I messaged Danielle again, ask if she knew. I wasn't told. She finally answers super short, says our parents handled everything. She assumed I didn't care, then says she's busy with wedding stuff, and leaves that at that. I reply asking if she actually owns it now or if it's just for the wedding. She goes silent again. I try calling my dad once more. He actually picks up and immediately starts off with this thing about how I should be happy for Danielle, how I just bring drama if I was involved. He says if I start poking around, it'll just ruin our chance at happiness. I say I just want to know what happened. And he snaps back, says don't call again unless it's important. Then he hangs up at this point. I'm just done. I text my mom, tell her I get it, I'm out. She sends back a thumbs up. Not even a word, just the emerging rest of that week was a blur. I tried not to think about it, but then little stuff kept popping up. My landlord mentioned someone tried to call about my old address, saying they were fam. Leah needed info. The family group chat, dead silence, except for Daniel's wedding updates. Not a single mention of the cabin from anyone else, like it just disappeared. Extended family is either clueless or pretending not to know. I started running through all the emails, trying to remember if there was ever any paperwork about the cabin. I know my granddad said something years ago about keeping it in the family, but I never saw anything official. I asked my aunt about it. She lives out in another state. We're not super close. And she just said, "Oh, I thought your parents would talk to you about that." And then she changed the subject. Nobody wants to get involved. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Family cabin, just gone. Not a word until it's posted all over Facebook. Parents act like I'm some leads for even asking about it. Daniel's getting her fresh start, and I'm apparently just background noise. I'm not the type to just eat this and move on. I don't care if they want to play favorites, but you don't get to pretend I don't exist. You don't get to erase me because I don't fit your idea of success. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm not letting them get away with it. I'm not about to let them just smile for Facebook and act like I was never part of the family. Next time I see Daniel, I'm not staying quiet, and my parents can keep ignoring my calls, but they're going to have to deal with me one way or another. Update 1. So here's part 2. I guess appreciate the DMs and comments last time, even the ones telling me to just move on or whatever. That's not happening. If you missed the start, my parents gave the family cabin to my sister Danielle as a wedding gift. Didn't even tell me. I found out through Facebook. And then they basically said I never earned anything and acted like I was an inconvenience. I left it at thanks for clearing that up. But obviously, I wasn't just gonna let it go. Weirdest thing is how totally normal everything looked after. Like my parents kept posting dad jokes and food pics on Facebook, acting like nothing happened. Daniel's feed was just wedding countdowns, random throwback shots of her at the lake as a kid. Not a single mention of nobody in the family group chat said a damn thing. Even my aunt, who used to at least send a Christmas meme, stopped messaging. It was almost like they were cursed at everyone, pretending I was just background noise. So I started poking around, not like detective level, but enough to see what was actually going on. I remembered my granddad making a big deal that the cabin was for the family, not just one person. He died years ago, but I figured there had to be some record. I started with all the emails, texts, even went back through some paper files I still had in a box. Nothing super official, just old group emails where granddad CC'd everyone about repairs, and a couple of times he mentioned the trust. I barely remembered it, but that's what stuck out. He said the cabin was in a family trust meant to be kept for all the kids, not just passed down to one. I googled a bunch of stuff about property trusts, then found the county assessor's website. Not exactly fun, but I tracked down the deed. Turns out, yeah, my parents were trustees, but technically everything was supposed to benefit the family. There was literally a clause about equal access and benefit that made my blood boil a bit more, because it wasn't like they sold their own house or something. It was supposed to be for both of us. I asked my aunt about it again, and she just said I should talk to my parents. She wasn't getting involved. My cousin Philip, who I see sometimes at the holidays, texted me asking if I was really pissed about the cabin thing. So clearly people were talking, just not to me. I told him yeah, obviously. He just said that sucks, but not much you can do, and then changed the subject. So now I'm getting pissed, not just at my parents, but at the whole family for acting like this is normal. I took a screenshot of Daniel's Facebook post and sent it to the family group chat. No comment, just the pic. I didn't get a single reply for today's. Finally, my mom messages me privately, says I'm being immature, that it's Daniel's time and I should let her enjoy it. I said you could have at least told me. She ignores that and says if I want to be included in the future, I need to stop causing trouble. I reply, so the only way I get to be family is if I shut up and smile about you giving away the one thing Granddad wanted us to share. She leaves me on read. Around that time, I run into my dad. The groceries, he's buying steaks. I'm in the next aisle. He sees me and sighs like I'm a headache. I ask him quietly, why didn't you talk to me about the cabin? He just shrugs, says, you never really cared anyway, and you just start one of your projects and leave the place a mess. I say I did most of the deck repairs last year, remember? He says you just wanted to play with too, not actually contribute. I tell him you could have at least given me a chance. He goes, we did what we thought was best for the family. Danielle deserves a fresh start. And you just fight us on everything. I tell him, you know this isn't right. And he literally rolls his eyes and walks away with his cart. I just stand there barely believing it. I tried to talk to Danielle in person after that. I messaged her, said I wanted to clear the air. She said she was super busy, but could do coffee, so we met at this place near her apartment. And right away she was on her phone, barely looking up. I heard, did you know they didn't tell me? She says, I assumed you knew Mom and Dad handled everything. And I don't want drama before the wedding. I ask, do you even care that you basically took the only thing we had from Granddad? She says you never wanted to settle down. You said you'd never use it anyway, and Mom said you were fine with it. I say I never said that, and she shrugs, says, well, it's done now. I pushed my chair back a little too hard, stand up, and she just looks back down at her phone. I leave without saying bye. Over the next week, my mom sends me a long message about family unity, how I should support Daniel's new chapter. She says, if you keep this up, you won't be invited to the wedding. I screenshot that and send it back to no text. So now it's awkward as hell. I hear through Philip that some of the older relatives are asking questions because my granddad brother apparently saw my screenshot and asked why I never got to say, hey. My mom texts me furious, says I'm making her look bad and airing private family matters. I say if you wanted it private, you shouldn't have put it all over Facebook. She sends back a thumbs up again. I decide screw it, I'm not keeping quiet. I start seeing some of the extended family an email asking if anyone knows more about the trust, mostly silence, but one uncle, Stanley, who's always been weirdly into legal stuff, says he remembers some conditions on the trust, but doesn't have the paperwork. He says if I want to see it, I'll have to ask my parents directly. For the dogs, I emailed my mom and dad asking for copies, no reply. So I show up at my parents' place. I don't call ahead. My dad opens the door, looked surprised, then annoyed. I say I want to see the trust paperwork. Now he says you're not coming it, not if you're going to start a fight. I step past him anyway, and he puts a hand on my shoulder to stop me. I push it off. My mom yells from the kitchen, says you're being ridiculous, get out. I say not until I see the papers. My dad steps in front of me and blocks the hallway. I tell him you can't just cut me out and pretend it's all fine. My mom slams a cupboard and says we did what we had to do. Danielle is actually building a life, not just wasting time on projects. I snapped, so what? I don't count. She just says you made your choices, live with them. I leave, slam the door on my way out, not sure if I'm going to get the cops called on me. I drive around for an hour just blasting music, thinking about how this all got so screwed. I keep replaying the same lines in my head, like how was I always the one who didn't deserve things just because I didn't do the 9 to 5 marry young buy a house routine like Danielle. My parents always acted like the only way to be successful was to copy their exact playbook. I guess me doing things my own way was just proof to them that I'd never grow up. The next day, Daniel texts me, says, why are you making everything so hard? Just let it go. This is supposed to be a happy time. I reply, you don't get to erase me just because I'm inconvenient. She blocks me now. My roommate is asking what's up because I've been slamming doors and not really talking. I tell him a bit, and he goes, do that, so mess. Stop, you gotta do something. I agree, but I'm not sure what yet. But I know I'm not just letting them get away with it. I start looking up more about trust property transfers. All that I find out, there's a way to force an accounting of how the trust was handled, but I'd need actual proof. I figure if I can't get the papers, maybe I can at least make enough noise that they have to answer. So that's where I'm at. Families pretending I don't exist. Daniel's planning her wedding at the cabin. Parents are acting like I'm just this embarrassing footnote. But now some of the extended family is starting to ask questions, and I'm not backing down. They want to erase me, but I'm louder than they remember. Next move's gonna be theirs. But I'm not waiting around for an invite. I'm just getting started. Update 2. So I guess this is the part where everyone expects an update to be like I went to therapy and learned to forgive, or whatever. No, if you think I was just gonna let them trash me and get away with it, you don't know me at all. If you haven't read the earlier posts, parents gifted the family cabin to my sister Danielle as a wedding present. Skip telling me. Publicly acted like I didn't exist, then doubled down when I called them out. They basically told me I'd never earn anything because I didn't live life their way. I poked around, found out the cabin was supposed to be for both kids, not just Princess Danielle, but nobody in the family wanted to get involved or even admit it. So here's what happened next. First weird thing, Danielle starts posting a bunch of throwbacks of her cabin, but keeps turning off comments on anything I tag myself in. Mom suddenly all about posting inspirational quotes about forgiveness and family unity. Super subtle, right? I get a couple MS from cousins asking what's going on, and I just tell them straight up, no drama, just the facts. I can tell some of them don't want to pick sides, but at least a couple start liking my posts about family fairness. Not much, but enough to know people are whispering. Then out of nowhere, I get a letter at my apartment from the county, like actual mail. It's a notice about maintenance cost disclosures on the cabin property. I didn't even know I was listed anywhere. Turns out my name was still on some old paperwork from when I helped with repairs. There's receipts and stuff. My granddad kept everything, so I dig through my old emails and find a chain from 3 summers ago where I literally paid for materials and covered a bunch of the taxes when my dad forgot. I print everything out, start a file and call the county office, not to play lawyer, but to ask what my options are. Since I contributed to maintenance and taxes, they say if I have records I can file a claim for reimbursement or demand an accounting of the trust because I'm technically a beneficiary. So I start the paperwork, takes a few days, but I finally formal request for a full financial accounting of the trust and reimbursement for my share of expenses. I CC Danielle and her fiance, and because I'm not dumb, I also send copies to the aunt and uncle who were closest with granddad. I attach the receipts, the emails, and the clause I found about equal benefit. No threads, no drama, just facts. This is where things get spicy. Danielle's fiance's parents, who are super uptight, suddenly message me asking if there's legal trouble about the wedding. I say ask my parents, I'm just asking for what granddad won. Next thing I know, the wedding group chat, yes, I was still in it, LMAO, is blowing up with side messages and Daniel's friends wondering why there's property drop. I just reply with my usual ask my parents. My mom calls me, doesn't even say hi. I just launches into how I'm ruining Daniel's big moment and how I always have to make everything about myself. I say you did this, not me. You could have just talked to me like an adult. She says you're just jealous. You'll never have what Danielle has. I tell her I don't want what she has, I want what I'm owed. And I'm not backing down. She hangs up. By minutes later, Dad texts me, says, you're making a fool of yourself. Just drop it before you embarrass everyone. I tell him should have thought of that before you gave away something that wasn't yours. He leaves me on read. Danielle tries to call. I answer. She's crying, says, why are you doing this? I just want to have a nice wedding. Why can't you let me be happy? I tell her you're not a kid anymore. You don't get to play innocent while you take the one thing we both had. She says, Mom told me. You said you didn't care. I tell her, you never even asked. She starts yelling. I start yelling. She calls me selfish. I tell her to grow up. She hangs up now. The group chat is dead. I start getting texts from random relatives, mostly, can you just let it go for the sake of family? I tell them as my parents, I'm not the problem. My cousin Philip texts me, says, I get why you're mad, but isn't this going to just make everyone hate you? I say they already do. What's the difference? Meanwhile, I request a property tax reassessment on the cabin. I know that old jack up the annual bill, especially since Daniel